Yo, what's good everyone? Today I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite tournament or GPP plays for this Week 16 NFL DraftKings main slate. Let's dive right into it. And like I always do here in these videos, I'm going to give you a high-level overview of my cheat sheet, breaking down a couple of game stacks that I like targeting here this week, as well as some of my favorite individual plays and stacks for this Week 16 NFL DraftKings main slate. But as always, everyone, just want to remind you and highly recommend joining my free Discord channel. We've had 10 people join just this week, over 850 people in there in total, talking multiple different sports for DFS, but primarily NFL and NHL. If you want to join that, there's a link to do so in the description below, as well as in the pinned comment below. With that being said, let's dive into the cheat sheet here. We're going to kick it off with a couple of game stacks that I like targeting this weekend, and very few people are going to be playing the San Francisco 49ers. Juwan Jennings is going to garner a little ownership because he's very viable at this price at $5,900 in cash games, but outside of that, the 49ers are going to be super under-owned. Brock Purdy coming in around 2.5% projected ownership. George Kittle coming in around 4.5% projected ownership. I'll take advantage of that in tournaments here this week, and a game that the 49ers are likely going to have to throw the ball quite a bit because their running back situation is destroyed right now. No Christian McCaffrey, no Jordan Mason. Isaac Guerendo's not going to play here this week, so now we're looking at 4th and 5th stringers for them. I just don't foresee them winning this game if they try to run the ball like they typically do. So stacking up Purdy here with Juwan Jennings and George Kittle, and then running it back there with Devon Achane makes sense to me. This 49ers team has given up the 6th most DraftKings points per game to running backs in the last 4 weeks at 27.3 per game. And then another game stack that I like targeting here this week is this game between the Jets and Rams, and I do think we could stack up either side. If you wanted to go with Aaron Rodgers here and his top 2 pass catchers, which are obviously Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, I have no problem with that. I prefer to go with the Rams side here, really kind of a similar situation, right? We know who to stack up Matthew Stafford with, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, and then running it back there with Breece Hall. Now, the reason I like the Rams side here stacking that up is because this Jets secondary has not been good over the past 4 weeks, giving up 43.8 DraftKings points per game to wide receivers. That's the 4th most in the NFL during that stretch. And for Breece Hall here, he's going to go under-owned this week. People do want to play Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, so he's going to fly under the radar, kind of battling an injury too. Nobody wants to play that at this point in the season, but for tournaments, I kind of like it here because the Rams have given up the 7th most DraftKings points to running backs over the last 4 weeks at 27 per game. Now folks, before we dive into some of these individual plays and stacks here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. It's completely free to do, and every like, comment, and sub that you guys leave truly does help grow this channel. So again, if you haven't done that yet, I would really appreciate you doing that here today. Alright, now diving into some of these individual plays and stacks here, we're going to kick it off at the quarterback position. Now, earlier in the week, I thought, okay, Josh Allen probably going to be pretty popular heading into Sunday. Really good matchup against New England. Back-to-back performances where he just absolutely smashed the slate. Well, as I record here on Friday, the projected ownership for Josh Allen this weekend is 3.5%. So while the New England Patriots aren't going to be able to keep pace like the Rams and Lions did these last 2 weeks, you're going to give me Josh Allen here, a guy who put up 40-plus DraftKings points in his last 2 games, at 3.5% ownership. I'm obviously going to take advantage of that in my lineup. Same thing here with Joe Burrow. People don't want to spend up for him at $7,500. It's easy to stack him up with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, or even Chase Brown if you wanted to go that route. Get a little unique with your stacking pieces there. But he's coming in around 3.5% projected ownership, and I just think that's a little too low considering the upside that he offers. And then Geno Smith here. I think this is a sneaky play. Minnesota coming off of a short week, and that secondary has really given it up to wide receivers as of late. Easy to stack him up with JSN and Metcalf, who are both very affordable. You can see them listed under the wide receivers. But Minnesota, this secondary has now given up 47 DraftKings points per game to wide receivers over the last 4 weeks. That's the 2nd most in the NFL. Now, moving on to the running back position here, and if you watch my cash plays video, I name drop Bijan Robinson there. Didn't highlight him on the cheat sheet, but he is a cash viable play. I love him even more on the tournament side of things here this week because everyone wants to play Michael Penix Jr. in their cash lineup, and kind of getting away from the running back position. He's still coming in around 11% projected ownership, so he's not going to be super under-owned. I don't want to sell you on that, but he is giving a massive GPP score on FTN, the optimizer. So yeah, I do like him in tournaments this week. Really good spot against the New York Giants at home. Aaron Jones here also projecting really well on the GPP side of things, coming in a little too under-owned in my opinion, considering the matchup against Seattle. Hell, you could even stack that game up if you wanted to. Run out Geno with his top two pass catchers in JSN and Metcalf, and then run it back there with Aaron Jones. And then James Cook here. Really similar situation to Josh Allen, really good matchup, and nobody's playing the Buffalo Bills. So considering, again, I gotta go check out my cash plays video because I'm highlighting all the popular running back plays there. James Conner, Chase Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs. James Cook is gonna fly under the radar here at this 7K price tag, considering how popular those running backs are gonna be. Next, we got the wide receivers here. Jamar Chase is probably $1,000 too cheap in my opinion. This guy leads the league in targets, receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns at 15 here as we're heading into week 16. You could easily price him at $9,500, and honestly, I'd still probably play him. AJ Brown here has been very good against cover 3 defenses, and the Washington Commanders have been running that a little bit more here as of late, so I think he's got some nice upside, and nobody's playing him this week either. And then JSN and Metcalf, mentioned them earlier, easy stacking pieces there with Geno Smith, and a good matchup against Minnesota. Then Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyler was looking for him last week in the end zone, and it just so happens that this Carolina defense has given up the 5th most touchdowns to wide receivers this year. So I know that Marv has burned us a bunch this year, but I am willing to go back this week at 5,400. And then a couple of tight ends that I like outside of George Kittle here this week is Trey McBride. I have no problem spending up for him either. Hell, I'd spend up for Jonnu Smith this week either. Even Brock Bowers. You probably can't talk me out of spending up for one of those guys. They have been really good here, especially as of late. Guys like Jonnu Smith. But Trey McBride, the targets have just been monstrous as of late. He has yet to score a touchdown this year, and he could easily do that here this week in a good matchup against Carolina. As a matter of fact, Kyler Murray actually tweeted earlier this week that 85 is going to find the end zone sooner than later. So you always like when your quarterback is backing you up like that as well. And then Sam Laporta here, really like the spot against the Chicago Bears. $4,700 I think is still a bit too cheap considering the upside that he offers, especially now that David Montgomery isn't there. You know, again, Jahmyr Gibbs is a great play. Talked about him in my cash plays video as well, but I think Detroit's going to have to throw the ball just a little bit more here this week. And then Hungry Henry, what the hell? I didn't even notice that. Hunter Henry is what I obviously meant there. Yeah, he's in play for the New England Patriots as well at $4,100. Hungry Henry. I can't believe I wrote that. And then wrapping it up there with the defenses, and yes, I'm going to leave Hungry Henry on the cheat sheet here. Maybe that's a sign that we need to play him, that more targets need to go his way. But speaking of that game, I do like the Bills here at home. I know they've been really bad in these last 2 games facing Detroit and the Rams, but this seems like a really good bounce back spot for them facing a rookie quarterback. You got the Bengals taking on the Cleveland Browns, whose quarterback situation is abysmal right now. Raiders at home here. Cheaper play that I like facing Jacksonville. I don't necessarily love the 2K range for defense this week, but the Raiders were one that stuck out to me. And then if I'm really desperate here, the Bears at $2,200, I don't mind it, but they're facing the Lions, and we all know how scary that can be. All right, everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great weekend here, folks, and let's win some money on this Week 16 main slate.